Of all Kansas game fish, walleye may offer the best combination of sport, size, and table fare. With its opaque, stony glare and a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth, the walleye is at a glance a consummate predator. The state record walleye weighed more than 13 pounds and was caught in 1996 from Wilson Reservoir. Without question, the walleye is one of the most highly prized sport fish. Walleye belong to the perch family and are not native to most Kansas waters. Artificial stockings began in the 1960s, and while walleye were instantly popular with Kansas anglers, it was apparent that dependable walleye fishing would require annual stocking. From that necessity, the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks Walleye Culture Program evolved. Walleyes spawn in March and April, and water temperatures reach 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. They usually spawn at night in rocky areas such as riprap along dam faces and deep rocky shorelines. A large female may broadcast as many as 300,000 eggs. Fluctuating water levels and temperatures, wave action, and siltation destroy many eggs. Fewer than 5% of the eggs normally hatch in the wild, so artificial spawning and hatching are widely practiced to increase walleye populations. Artificial spawning in Kansas is timed to coincide with the natural spawn. Walleye move into spawning areas when water temperature reaches the middle 40s. By the end of March, crews led by fisheries biologists are set up on several Kansas reservoirs. They will work grueling hours for several weeks to capture walleye. And attention to details, learned in over 30 years of artificial walleye spawning, is key to the success of the program. Kyle Austin managed such a crew at Glen Elder Reservoir for 14 years. Austin is presently the walleye spawning project leader.
We've learned through the years that certain techniques produce higher success rates, so each walleye egg collection team is given detailed instruction on what we feel are the best methods to use. Our equipment has also improved through the years. We've incorporated the use of specially designed pontoon boats, which we feel will increase our success rates and efficiency. There's really a lot of high-tech science involved. For example, we have had sauger in many of our lakes for years, and sauger and walleye are in the same fish family, so they can interbreed. We have to be careful not to allow sauger genes to be mixed up in what we intend to be pure walleye production. To avoid this, we have tested our walleye populations in all reservoirs throughout the state and have found that Marion Reservoir has a genetically pure strain. Because of this, the male walleye we collect from Marion Reservoir by means of electrofishing boats are used to fertilize all the walleye eggs that are collected statewide. So you can see that this is not only a lot of hard work, but a lot of science and planning goes into the walleye spawning program.
The males collected in Marion Reservoir are shipped to the Milford Hatchery, where biologists collect their sperm. A vacuum system is used to move the gently milked sperm to collection tubes. After each milking, the fish receive a hormone injection which maximizes and prolongs each fish's ability to produce sperm, effectively reducing the number of male walleye that must be collected from Marion Reservoir. The collected sperm is transferred to small bottles and stored at 36 to 38 degrees until it is picked up for use at the various lakes where females are being collected for egg production. To collect females for egg collection, field biologists can set two types of nets. The traditional walleye capture net is the trap net. These nets are set along dams and shorelines with likely spawning habitat. Trap nets consist of a lead net that directs fish to a hoop-shaped trap. Fish traveling parallel to the shoreline run into the lead net. This net then acts as a barrier, forcing the fish to swim toward deeper water and into the hoop trap. A second type of net, which is gaining favor with fisheries biologists, is the gill net. These nets are designed to allow a fish to push partway through the 2.5-inch square mesh. The fish get hung up in the mesh and are held until removed by biologists. The 400-foot gill nets are set in late evening and are checked in the first light of dawn. As nets are checked, any females that contain eggs are placed in the boat's live well tanks. All male walleye are released. Once all nets are checked, the morning's catch is transported to the floating fish culture dock, or spontoon. John Renke is the district fisheries biologist assigned to Milford Reservoir.
The spontoon boat, this was my first year utilizing it. Wildlife and Parks attained that last year, and it was used at Glen Elder for the first time. It's a very effective tool in helping us produce these walleye. We found that UV light, wind, and temperature really has an impact on the successful fertilization and hatching rates of the walleye eggs. The spontoon allows us to, with the tarp over it, allows light to come in, blocks most of the UV, also blocking of the wind. If it's real cold outside, sometimes the wind chill would be terrible and have a bad impact on them eggs and could kill them before they were even fertilized. After we take the fish out of the nets in the morning, we take the nets and the fish back to the spontoon boat. We unload them from the spontoon boat, either into the cages if the fish are considered green. If the fish are ripe, that means they're flowing eggs at that time. Then we strip the eggs immediately and return the fish back to the lake. Those green fish are held in cages underneath the spontoon boat for up to 3 days. If they have not ripened up at the end of those 3 days, then they're released back into the lake.
The fertilization process begins when the eggs are gently squeezed from a ripe female into a shallow pan. If the female is truly ripe, gentle pressure will release the eggs. Once artificially spawned, the fish is measured and released back into the lake. Within seconds, about a tablespoon of preserved sperm and enough clean water to suspend the mixture is added. The mixture is then stirred with a large feather to ensure contact between the sperm and the eggs. Timers are set to ensure that the eggs are stirred for 3 minutes. Once the eggs are fertilized in this manner, fuller's earth, a powdery clay in suspension with lake water, is added. This clay reduces the natural adhesiveness of the eggs and prevents them from sticking together, a crucial factor in the later stages of the artificial hatching process.
That fuller's earth is mixed in after the eggs have been fertilized by the sperm. Along the dam or out in the lakes where the walleye spawn naturally, those eggs have a sticky secretion on the outside of them, which allows them to stick to rocks and not fall under them. We do not want that to happen in our hatchery situation, otherwise the eggs would all clump together and the eggs on the inside of the clump would die because they would not receive oxygen. So after that fuller's earth is mixed in and that sticky substance removed, we need to get that fuller's earth off them also, or that could suffocate the eggs too.
The embryos are bathed in lake water for about 2 hours to remove the clay. The eggs are then transferred to coolers filled with water and shipped to hatcheries at Milford, Pratt, Farlington, and Meade, where the hatching process will begin. Weather is the greatest factor in determining the number of walleye eggs collected each year. In years when the weather is dominated by high pressure, and the reservoir's water temperatures are constant, walleye egg collection is best. 2003 was such a year, and 240 million eggs were collected. During the spring of 1993, however, a series of cold fronts caused drastic water temperature fluctuations, resulting in a poor egg harvest. Less than 20 million eggs were collected. In 2004, 150 million eggs were collected. Upon arrival at a hatchery, the embryos are placed into specially designed hatching jars. Troy Amspacher supervises the hatching process at Milford Fish Hatchery.
When the eggs first arrive at the hatchery, one of the first things we do is to put them in hatching jars. We put about 350,000 eggs in a jar. Here at Milford, we have a capacity of 400 jars, so at any one time we can be incubating up to 120 million eggs.
Complex racks and water systems have been built to accommodate these hatching jars. Each egg must be constantly exposed to fresh, highly oxygenated water or it will die. To accomplish this, water is piped down the center of these hatchery jars and upwells from the bottom. This water action, combined with the clay treatment, keeps the eggs in suspension and prevents clumping, which would result in high mortality. At the beginning of the hatching process, the eggs appear yellow. After 5 days, the eyes of the fry become visible in the eggs, and they appear progressively darker. Hatchery biologists monitor the eggs closely as incubation advances. Water flows are checked to ensure constant but controlled movement. Water temperatures and oxygen content are also routinely checked. Eggs that die may become infected by fungi. Left untreated, these infections may then spread to live eggs. To assist in the removal of dead eggs, a mild hydrogen peroxide solution is added to each jar, starting approximately on day 3 and continuing to approximately day 7. An enzyme present in the attacking fungi causes the hydrogen peroxide to react, producing water and oxygen gas. This oxygen gas collects on the surface of the dead eggs, causing them to become buoyant. They float to the top of the jar and are swept away by the flow of water. Dead eggs that remain in the top of the jar may be siphoned off by hatchery personnel. At 60 degrees, hatching generally begins on the 8th or 9th day. As the fry break out of their egg cases, they swim and are carried upward by the water. This water flow eventually carries the fry out the top of the jar and into troughs, which lead to holding tanks, where they're held for 2 to 4 days to allow their mouth parts to develop. Once that step is completed, the majority of the fry are bagged and boxed for transport to Kansas lakes and reservoirs for immediate stocking. To transport the fry, plastic bags filled with fresh water are placed inside coolers. Approximately 100,000 fry are then placed in each cooler. The bags are inflated with oxygen and after being tightly sealed are ready for transport. Unquestionably, the artificial spawning activities of the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks have boosted walleye populations in Kansas waters. Walleye are truly a great sport fish. No matter whether you fish for them in the spring, summer, fall, or even through the ice, there's a good chance that your catch is the result of the hard work of biologists and culturists of the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks.